breaking news regarding the president's son, Hunter. Hunter Biden apparently has reached a tentative deal with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 minor tax crimes and admit to the facts of a gun charge under terms that would likely keep him
out of jail.
Welcome to part 3 of While You Were Being Distracted by the Submarine. Today we're going to talk about the firearm charge that was filed against Robert Hunter Biden by the District of Delaware's U.S. Attorney's Office. We could talk about the tax evasion that Hunter was a part of, but unfortunately, that would take hours and hours and hours to explain the entire story. And if you guys would like more information, you guys can listen to the audiobook or purchase the book, The Laptop from Hell by Miranda Devine, who is an amazing investigative journalist. She has the ability to rivet you by either her writing or through the audiobook, which is narrated by Richard Cefalos.
Hunter Biden was in the 6th week of a crack cocaine bender at the Chateau Marmont in May 2018, paying hookers and dealers to service him around the clock in an $820 a night garden cottage by the hotel pool, a few steps from the bungalow where John Belushi had died 36 years earlier from a heroin speedball. He was flush with cash, having wound up his business with the Chinese energy company CEFC after the sudden disappearance in Shanghai in March of his billionaire partner, Chairman Ye Jianming, and the arrest at JFK Airport 4 months earlier of Patrick Ho, another Chinese partner who would end up in jail for paying bribes to African presidents at the United Nations.
It's hard not to get emotional when listening to this book because it will literally make you so angry you don't know what to do with yourself. How could one person get away with so much shit, whereas the average American gets away with nothing? So let's get into it. In the particular state of Delaware, we see that it is legal to buy shotguns at the age of 18. You can then buy rifles and handguns at 21. You do not need a permit to carry. There is no firearm registry. You don't need a permit to buy, and it's more lax than other liberal states in the country. So Hunter Biden was charged with lying on the Form 4473. Let's see what a Form 4473 actually does. See, this is the form that every single FFL gets when they are about to have a transaction with a customer, and this is what you have to fill out when you are purchasing a firearm, no matter who you are. And for question 11, section E, the question states, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Warning, the use of possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. So let's say you fill out this entire form and you lie on it. The ATF has a policy that they pursue aggressively to the average American called the lie and try. The form requires buyers to answer several questions, including those about the buyer's competency, criminal history, drug use, immigration status, and history with domestic violence. Applicants who knowingly make false statements may also face criminal prosecution for a felony and up to 10 years in federal prison. Well, throughout the timeline, Hunter was using crack cocaine, and because of the laptop, we know for certain that up to a month before he had purchased a firearm, he was using crack cocaine. This is corroborated in images and in text messages to his dealers. What the entire investigation missed, and what most of the public does not know, is that there was a case in which Hunter Biden purchased a .38 caliber Colt Cobra, and his widowed sister-in-law, who he was banging, aka his dead brother's wife, was with Hunter, and they had a relationship. They were involved in crack binges and crack benders, and she ended up confiscating his gun and throwing it into the dumpster of a grocery store, which was across the street from a high school. Now, I tried to look as much as I could about the laws regarding abandonment of a firearm and having a firearm in possession or not in possession within a school zone, and it seems as though Delaware does not have any laws regarding that. So he got away scot-free, but the fact of the matter is, it gets a little bit sketchier when you find out that the Secret Service was involved. So we're going to scroll down here for a second. Secret Service inserted itself into the case of Hunter Biden's gun. The bizarre incident involved a trash can, a man searching for recyclables, and eventually federal law enforcement. In October 23, 2018, President Joe Biden's son Hunter and daughter-in-law Hallie were involved in a bizarre incident in which Hallie took Hunter's gun and threw it in a trash can behind a grocery store, only to return later to find it gone. Delaware police began investigating, concerned that the trash can was across from a high school and that the missing gun could be used in a crime, according to law enforcement officials and a copy of the police report obtained by Politico. But a curious thing happened at the time. Secret Service agents approached the owner of the store where Hunter bought the gun and asked to take the paperwork involving the sale, according to two people, one of whom has first-hand knowledge of the episode and the other was briefed by a Secret Service agent after the fact. The gun store owner refused to supply the paperwork, suspecting that the Secret Service officers wanted to hide Hunter's ownership of the missing gun in case were it to be involved in a crime, the two people said. The owner, Ron Palmieri, later turned over the papers to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive, which oversees federal gun laws. The Secret Service says it has no record of its agents investigating the incident, and Joe Biden, who was not under protection at the time, said through a spokesperson he has no knowledge of any Secret Service involvement, which is bullshit. This is a little bit off track, but Hunter was fleeced by a Russian hooker working for an escort agency, which stirred, in my opinion, the investigation that ultimately led to him pleading to these charges. He had maxed out his Wells Fargo credit limit of $95,000, and he started to use every single credit card he had in his wallet until he tipped off the wrong card. Because he was so high, he wasn't paying attention to which card he was using. And concerning enough, he was later contacted the next day by Secret Service agents who knocked on his door. So the card in question must have been a bank account that was tied to both Hunter and Joe. So that just goes to show you that this is now the second time that Secret Service were involved. And what I'd like to end with here is the concept of a Praetorian Guard. A Praetorian Guard was an elite unit of the Imperial Roman army that served as personal bodyguards and intelligence agents for the Roman emperors. During the Roman Republic, the Praetorian Guards were escorts for high-ranking political officials and were bodyguards for the senior officers of the Roman legions. So you have the Secret Service functioning as a Praetorian Guard for an individual who's not even in the White House at the time. Former vice president. Remember, these incidents took place in 2018. The vice president is never afforded Secret Service as a former, meaning that when they leave office, they are not afforded Secret Service. This is only for past presidents. So it leads you to wonder, how deep does this go? How crazy does this rabbit hole get? And with that, I bid you adieu. Stay tuned for part 4 of While You Were Distracted by the Submarine.